I was engaged to the love of my life, Sophia. We had been together for 3 beautiful years and were planning our autumn wedding. 6 months ago, I proposed on a mountain hike, and her tearful yes made me the happiest man alive. Everything seemed perfect until she suddenly asked for a break to clear her head. Then she vanished for weeks. I later discovered she had reconnected with her ex. Now she wants to resume our wedding plans like nothing happened. If you are curious about how my perfect life unraveled and how I handled this betrayal, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories. I met Sophia at my college friend Thomas's housewarming party in downtown Boston. As a software engineer who spent most days behind computer screens, I rarely attended social gatherings. That night changed my life. Sophia stood across the room laughing with a group of people. Her confidence was magnetic, her smile infectious. I felt intimidated by her beauty, but somehow found the courage to approach when Thomas introduced us. Our conversation flowed effortlessly as we discovered shared passions for landscape photography and hiking New England trails. She worked as a marketing executive for a luxury brand, a career that suited her polished, charismatic personality. I asked for her number before leaving, surprised when she suggested meeting for coffee that weekend. Our first date at a small cafe near Boston Common stretched from afternoon into evening. We discussed everything from childhood memories to career aspirations. Her ambition matched my own, and I admired her drive to become a marketing director before 30. She seemed genuinely interested in my work developing software for renewable energy companies. The following weeks brought more dates. We explored hidden bookstores in Cambridge, hiked the trails at Blue Hills Reservation, and spent countless evenings cooking together at my apartment. Within 2 months, we were officially a couple, and I introduced her to my parents during their visit from Chicago. They adored her instantly. Meeting Sophia's family proved more challenging. Her parents, both successful attorneys, scrutinized me during dinner at their Beacon Hill home. Despite my nervousness, I won them over by demonstrating genuine care for their daughter and sharing my career goals. Her younger brother, Ryan, became a close friend, often joining us for weekend activities. Our friend circles merged naturally. My tech colleagues warmed to Sophia during game nights, while her marketing friends welcomed me at industry events. We built a strong social foundation, surrounded by people who supported our relationship and celebrated our connection. After 18 months together, we decided to move in. We found a 2-bedroom apartment in South End, with a small balcony perfect for morning coffee. Combining our lives felt natural. My minimalist furniture paired surprisingly well with her artistic decor. We established routines that respected our individual needs while building our shared life. The transition came during a pivotal time in our careers. Sophia received a promotion that required longer hours and frequent business trips. Meanwhile, I left my company to join a promising startup with better advancement opportunities but initial pay cut. We supported each other through these changes, celebrating victories and providing comfort during setbacks. Our shared experiences strengthened our bond. We renovated our apartment together, surviving the chaos of construction and compromising on design choices. When Sophia mentioned wanting a dog, we visited shelters until finding Rusty, a golden retriever mix who became our mutual responsibility and joy. We traveled whenever possible, creating memories across New England coastlines and mountains. We talked about future dreams over sunset dinners and campfires, always including each other in our long-term visions. Marriage entered our conversations, naturally not as a question, but an eventuality we both anticipated. For our 3rd anniversary, I planned the perfect proposal. Sophia loved Mount Monadnock, where we had taken our first full-day hike. I arranged for us to revisit, secretly coordinating with her best friend, Andrea, to help set up. The morning began with breakfast at her favorite cafe, then the drive to southern New Hampshire, filled with nostalgic conversation about our relationship. The hike up felt symbolic of our journey together, challenging at times but rewarding. When we reached the summit, I suggested taking photos. As she looked out at the spectacular view, I quietly retrieved the ring box from my backpack. When she turned around, I was on one knee. The ring caught sunlight as I asked her to marry me. Tears filled her eyes immediately. Her whispered yes was followed by an embrace that felt like our future sealing into place. Other hikers around us applauded, making the private moment unexpectedly communal, yet still magical. That evening, we celebrated with friends at a surprise gathering I had arranged at our favorite restaurant. Everyone toasted our engagement, and Sophia beamed while showing her ring. Later, our families joined via video call, adding their congratulations and immediate questions about wedding dates. The following weeks were filled with excitement as we began wedding planning. Sophia created elaborate Pinterest boards for venues, flowers, and dresses. We decided on an autumn ceremony in the Berkshires, booking a rustic yet elegant venue with mountain views. We set a date for October 16 months, after our engagement, giving us plenty of time to plan the perfect celebration. The first signs of trouble appeared subtly. About 4 months into our engagement, Sophia began staying later at work. Initially, I thought nothing of it, knowing her position demanded extra hours. But her demeanor changed too. She became irritable over small issues like unwashed dishes or scheduling conflicts. Wedding planning, once exciting, became a source of tension. Sophia would enthusiastically research details one day, then claim the next that I was putting too much pressure on her to make decisions. When I suggested simplifying our plans, she accused me of not caring about our special day. Her unexplained absences increased. Twice she missed dinner with my visiting parents, citing work emergencies. Text messages went unanswered for hours. When she returned home, her explanations seemed rehearsed, lacking the transparency that had always characterized our relationship. I tried discussing these changes, careful to approach without accusations. She dismissed my concerns as overthinking or blamed stress from balancing work with wedding planning. When I suggested premarital counseling, a common practice among our friends, she reacted with unexpected anger, calling it unnecessary and offensive. Despite growing unease, I focused on solutions. I took over more household responsibilities, arranged romantic dates to reconnect, and gave her space when she seemed overwhelmed. Nothing seemed to restore our previous harmony. The woman I proposed to was fading, replaced by someone distant and unpredictable. Then came the Thursday evening that changed everything. Sophia texted she wanted to have dinner together, unusual, given her recent pattern of late workdays. I prepared her favorite pasta dish, hoping for reconciliation. When she arrived, her solemn expression immediately signaled bad news. Over barely touched food, she explained, she needed a break from our relationship and engagement. The words hit like physical blows. She claimed feeling trapped by wedding plans and uncertain about our future. She needed time alone to gain clarity before committing to marriage. I asked if there was someone else. She vehemently denied it, seemingly offended by the suggestion. Confused and heartbroken, I questioned what had changed since her tearful acceptance of my proposal. Her answers remained vague, centered on needing personal space and time to think. Against my better judgment, I agreed to her terms. What choice did I have? I could not force her to want our life together. She packed a suitcase that night, claiming she would stay with her friend Julia. As she left our apartment, the engagement ring remained on our dresser, a painful symbol of our suspended future. The initial days of separation were excruciating. Our apartment, once warm with shared memories, felt hollow without her presence. Rusty wandered between rooms, searching for Sophia, his confusion mirroring my own. I respected her request for space, limiting my texts to practical matters, while struggling to understand what had gone wrong. Sophia responded with brief messages, usually hours later. Her communications remained vague about her whereabouts and activities, only confirming she was safe and needed more time. The lack of timeline or clear expectations left me in painful limbo. Was I waiting days or months? Was our engagement paused or effectively over? I threw myself into work, grateful for the distraction of coding challenges and meetings. My startup was approaching a critical funding phase, requiring long hours that helped exhaust me enough to sleep despite my anxiety. My boss noticed my distraction but kindly accepted my vague explanation of personal issues. My friends provided crucial support. Daniel, my closest friend since college, checked on me daily and forced me out for occasional meals or basketball games. Thomas, who had introduced us, seemed oddly uncomfortable discussing Sophia, changing the subject whenever I mentioned her absence. My parents called frequently, offering wisdom from their 40 years of marriage. My mother suggested giving Sophia complete space, while my father questioned whether someone who could walk away so easily deserved a second chance. Their perspectives helped, though the decisions remained painfully mine alone. Taking care of Rusty provided much-needed routine. Our morning walks forced me out of bed despite sleepless nights, and his affection offered comfort when human connections felt complicated. I found myself talking to him about Sophia, his attentive head tilts, making him a perfect therapist. As days stretched into weeks, my concerns deepened. Our scheduled phone call to discuss the break after 1 week never happened. Sophia texted last minute that she was not ready to talk. 2 more scheduled conversations were similarly canceled. Her texts became increasingly rare, sometimes disappearing for days without explanation. Her claim of staying with Julia seemed suspicious when Julia posted social media photos of a weekend trip to New York without Sophia. When questioned, Sophia vaguely mentioned moving to another friend's place, but refused to elaborate. Her social media accounts went dormant, unusual for someone who regularly shared aspects of her life online. 3 weeks into our break, my colleague Peter mentioned seeing Sophia at a restaurant across town. Thinking this might signal her return to normal activities, I felt momentary relief. Then came the detail that shattered my world. She had been dining intimately with a man Peter recognized from her Instagram photos as her college boyfriend Jake. The revelation sent me spiraling. I had heard about Jake during our early dating days. They had dated seriously throughout college, nearly getting engaged before he accepted a job in London. Their relationship ended with his move abroad, a mutual but painful decision according to Sophia. She had always described him as her first love, but a closed chapter. With shaking hands, I searched Jake's social media profiles. His recent posts confirmed his return to Boston after 7 years in Europe, having accepted a position at a prestigious financial firm. The timing aligned perfectly with the beginning of Sophia's changed behavior 3 months earlier. Further investigation revealed concerning connections. Jake had commented on Sophia's work photos months before our engagement issues began. They had attended the same industry conference in New York during one of her business trips. Several mutual friends had posted photos, including both of them at social gatherings. Sophia had claimed were work events. The evidence suggested a reconnection that predated her request for a break. The discovery transformed my confusion into bitter understanding. The break was not about wedding jitters or personal space. It was about exploring possibilities with Jake, while keeping me as a backup plan. After days of agonizing over this information, I finally messaged Sophia asking directly if she was seeing Jake. Her response came hours later, defensive and accusatory. How dare I spy on her? During a break, she admitted seeing Jake as friends, but insisted I was violating her trust by checking up on her. The gaslighting attempt only confirmed my suspicions. Our subsequent phone conversation devolved into her twisted logic that reconnecting with an old friend during personal reflection time was perfectly reasonable. When pressed, she denied romantic involvement while attacking my insecurity. The conversation ended with her demanding more time without my interference. A painful week of silence followed. I consulted an attorney about our shared apartment lease and discussed the process for returning the significant deposits we had placed for wedding venues and services. I informed my family about the likely permanent nature of our separation, enduring their sympathetic responses and thinly veiled relief that I had discovered the truth before marriage. My mental health deteriorated as the situation clarified. Sleep became elusive, appetite non-existent. After missing important deadlines at work, I finally took a week of personal leave. My boss, now aware of the full situation, supported my decision and arranged project coverage during my absence. Friends rallied around me. Daniel temporarily moved into my guest room, ensuring I ate regular meals and occasionally left the apartment. Andrea, once Sophia's best friend, reached out to express her disappointment in Sophia's behavior and solidarity with me. Even Sophia's brother Ryan called to apologize for his sister's actions, confirming she had indeed been seeing Jake regularly. The most humiliating task was explaining to extended family and friends that the wedding was likely canceled. Many had already booked flights and accommodations. Though most expressed understanding, the constant retelling of my situation rubbed the wound raw. I drafted a brief email to distant connections but called close relatives personally, despite the emotional toll. I considered canceling our venue and vendor contracts, but hesitated on making the substantial financial loss official. Some irrational part of me still hoped for explanation or reconciliation, even as evidence mounted that Sophia had essentially conducted a trial relationship with Jake while keeping me in reserve. Exactly 1 month after Sophia left, I returned home from a therapy session to find her waiting outside our apartment. The sight of her leaning against the wall, casual, as if she had just stepped out for coffee, sent adrenaline rushing through my system. Rusty, who I had brought to the dog-friendly counseling office, strained toward her with excited whimpers. She looked both familiar and foreign. Her hair was styled differently, and she wore an outfit I had never seen. She carried a paper bag from my favorite bakery, an obvious peace offering. Her smile appeared nervous, but hopeful as she asked if we could talk inside. Against my better judgment, I agreed. As we entered the apartment, she moved with the comfortable familiarity of someone returning home, immediately filling the kettle for tea and arranging pastries on plates, as if reclaiming her domestic role. The normalcy she projected felt surreal against the backdrop of her month-long absence. Sitting across from me at our dining table, Sophia launched into what sounded like a rehearsed speech about gaining clarity during our time apart. She claimed the break had helped her realize I was truly the one she wanted to spend her life with. The wedding plans should proceed, perhaps with some adjustments to reduce her stress. I listened in disbelief as she discussed our future without acknowledging the destruction in her wake. When she reached across the table for my hand, I pulled back, finally interrupting, to ask the question that had haunted me for weeks: had she been with Jake? Her momentary hesitation before answering told me everything. She admitted spending time with him but framed it as beneficial soul-searching. Seeing Jake had supposedly helped her appreciate our relationship and confirm I was her right choice. She insisted nothing physical had happened, describing their connection as closure on an unfinished chapter. My suspicious silence prompted defensive elaboration. She explained Jake had reached out upon returning to Boston, and she had initially met him innocently for lunch. Old feelings resurfaced, causing her confusion about our engagement. The break was meant to explore these feelings ethically, without betraying me. The explanation might have seemed reasonable, if not for the text message that illuminated her phone screen as it sat on our table. The preview showed a message from Jake, asking if she had told me everything yet. When I pointed this out, she hastily flipped her phone over, claiming it was not what it seemed. Anger finally broke through my shock. I retrieved screenshots I had collected from mutual friends, showing her and Jake in clearly romantic situations throughout the month. There were photos of them entering his apartment building late at night, dining intimately at restaurants, and attending a concert with his arm around her. Confronted with evidence, Sophia's carefully constructed narrative collapsed. Tears replaced her confident demeanor as she admitted to a full relationship with Jake during our break. They had reconnected months before she requested space, initially through innocent social media interactions that evolved into secret meetings. Their emotional affair had turned physical shortly after she left our apartment. She had primarily stayed at his place, not with friends as claimed. They had discussed a potential future together with Jake, suggesting they could recreate what might have been had he not moved to London years earlier. The final revelation came like a knife twist. Jake had ended things 3 days ago, concluding that their reconnection was based on nostalgia rather than sustainable love. He had decided their relationship had ended for valid reasons years ago. Sophia, suddenly facing rejection, had reevaluated her choices and decided our stable relationship was what she truly wanted. I sat in stunned silence as she continued explaining, her tears now flowing freely. She insisted her feelings for me were real, despite her lapse in judgment. Her relationship with Jake had been a mistake born from pre-wedding anxiety and unresolved past feelings. Now that those feelings were truly resolved, she could commit fully to our marriage. Most shocking was her suggestion that we continue with wedding plans. The venue was booked, deposits paid, and invitations ready to be sent. We could move forward with minimal disruption if we reconciled now. She presented this as the practical, mature decision, dismissing the pain of her betrayal as an unfortunate but surmountable obstacle. When I questioned how we would explain her absence to friends and family, she suggested a simplified narrative about wedding jitters and personal reflection. My visible disgust at this deception prompted her alternate suggestion that we postpone the wedding by 6 months for healing, but maintain our engagement. With increasing desperation, she characterized my hurt as mere wounded pride, suggesting that truly mature love could overcome such temporary setbacks. She reminded me of our 3 years together, the life we had built, and questioned whether I would throw everything away because of her single mistake. As she spoke, memories surfaced of previous relationship patterns I had overlooked. There was the job interview she had sabotaged because she felt threatened by my potential female boss. The friendship with my college friend she had undermined because she disliked sharing my attention. The subtle ways she had isolated me from people who did not fit her ideal social circle. My friends had noticed these behaviors but respected my choices too much to interfere. Now their gentle concerns over the years took new meaning. Daniel had once mentioned, "Sophia seemed to view me as an achievement rather than a partner." Andrea had commented on Sophia's tendency to rewrite conflicts to position herself as the victim. These observations, dismissed as misunderstandings, now appeared prophetic. My moment of clarity arrived when my phone buzzed with a text from Jake himself. Having obtained my number from a mutual friend, he apologized for his role in the situation and confirmed what I suspected: Sophia had pursued him actively upon his return, presenting our relationship as already failing. She had claimed to be planning to end our engagement before he appeared. This final piece of information crystallized my decision. The woman sitting across from me, still outlining our reconciliation, was not the person I had believed her to be. The relationship I treasured had been built partly on illusion. My love had been real, but its recipient was someone who existed primarily in my hopeful perception. Over the next few days, I prepared for the conversation that would officially end our engagement. I consulted my therapist, arranged temporary housing alternatives, and documented our shared possessions. Though emotionally drained, I approached the discussion with clear boundaries and expectations. When Sophia arrived for our scheduled talk, she came bearing more gifts and prepared arguments for reconciliation. I listened briefly before calmly stating my decision: our wedding was permanently canceled, our relationship over. Her immediate reaction mixed shock with disbelief. Surely I would reconsider. After my anger cooled, I explained, this was not a decision made in anger, but in clarity. Her actions revealed fundamental incompatibilities in our values around honesty, commitment, and respect. While I had loved the person I thought she was, that person had proven largely fictional. I deserved a partnership built on mutual trust, not convenient affection when other options failed. Sophia cycled through multiple emotional strategies. First came tears and pleading, followed by anger. When these proved ineffective, she questioned my love, suggesting a truly committed partner would forgive anything. When this failed, she attempted guilt, reminding me of wedding deposits and family expectations. Finally, she threatened to portray me as unforgiving and cruel to our social circle. Throughout her emotional manipulation, I maintained calm resolve, recognizing these tactics as further confirmation of my decision. I outlined practical next steps. I would move out within 2 weeks, taking only what was indisputably mine. We would sell shared furniture and electronics, splitting proceeds. I would keep Rusty, who had been registered in my name. The financial consequences were substantial. We lost thousands in non-refundable wedding deposits, and breaking our lease carried penalties. I accepted these costs as the price of freedom from a destructive relationship. Some vendors sympathetically offered partial refunds when I explained the circumstances, somewhat mitigating the financial damage. Finding a new apartment proved challenging in Boston's competitive market, but Thomas offered his spare room until I secured permanent housing. Moving my possessions required methodical separation of intertwined lives. Items with shared memories, regardless of monetary value, were the hardest to divide. The coffee mugs we had collected from travels, the artwork we had selected together, the furniture we had assembled while laughing at confusing instructions, all carried emotional weight beyond their function. Informing family and friends about our canceled wedding involved difficult conversations. My parents supported my decision unequivocally, my father helping arrange movers, and my mother assisting with vendor cancellations. Extended family expressed varying degrees of understanding, some suggesting counseling or reconciliation attempts before such a definitive step. Friends demonstrated who truly cared through their reactions. Most offered practical help, with moving or emotional support through listening. Some, primarily Sophia's original friends, disappeared from my life immediately. Others surprised me with their loyalty, including Andrea and Ryan, who maintained relationships with me despite their connections to Sophia. The most painful notification was the cancellation email to wedding guests. I wrote it carefully, providing minimal details while taking responsibility for their inconvenience. Many responded with understanding messages that brought unexpected tears. Their genuine concern contrasted sharply with the relationship I was leaving. The initial weeks of separation brought alternating waves of grief, anger, and relief. Mornings were hardest, waking to the reality of my changed circumstances. Evenings brought loneliness, as I adjusted to quiet dinners without conversation. Nights featured replayed memories and questions about whether I could have prevented the outcome through different actions. My therapist helped identify these thoughts as natural but not necessarily productive. She suggested focusing on small daily improvements rather than analyzing the past. Each therapy session provided tools for processing grief without surrendering to bitterness. The goal was not forgetting, but integrating the experience into a healthier future. Friends proved essential during this period. Daniel organized weekly dinners to ensure I maintained social connections. Thomas introduced me to his basketball league, providing physical outlet for emotional stress. New work colleagues, now aware of my situation, invited me to social events that expanded my circle beyond reminders of Sophia. Rusty provided constant companionship during recovery. His uncomplicated affection and daily needs structured my routine when motivation wavered. Our evening walks became opportunities for reflection and planning. Caring for him prevented complete withdrawal into isolation during the most difficult days. Gradually, my focus shifted from loss to opportunity. Without negotiating Sophia's career priorities and social preferences, I accepted a promotion requiring temporary travel that substantially increased my income. The project utilized my specialized skills in renewable energy software, bringing professional fulfillment alongside financial benefits. This career advancement allowed me to consider housing options previously beyond reach. 4 months after our separation, I purchased a small condo in a neighborhood I had always admired for its creative energy and proximity to the waterfront. Decorating this space entirely to my preferences became an unexpectedly healing process, each choice affirming my independent identity. I rediscovered passions that had faded during my relationship. Photography expeditions to capture New England landscapes filled weekend mornings. Evening cooking classes introduced new recipes and social connections. A writing workshop helped process my experiences through creative expression. These activities not only occupied time, but rebuilt my identity beyond the relationship. My friendship circle evolved organically. Some connections strengthened through shared activities rather than history. New acquaintances knew me only as I currently existed without expectations based on past dynamics. These fresh relationships provided perspectives, uncolored by knowledge of my engagement, allowing me to present authentically rather than as someone recovering from betrayal. Eventually, I began casual dating. Initial attempts felt mechanical and forced, but patience revealed genuine connections were still possible. These experiences taught valuable lessons about relationship patterns. I recognized my tendency to overlook warning signs when emotionally invested and practiced maintaining boundaries while remaining open to connection. The most profound growth came through reassessing my understanding of love and commitment. True partnership required more than shared interests and physical attraction. It demanded fundamental alignment in values, especially honesty and respect. Love could not compensate for character incompatibilities, no matter how intense the feelings. Commitment meant consistent actions, not merely declarations during convenient moments. 1 year after ending my engagement, I reflected on my journey with surprising gratitude. The painful experience had forced growth I might have avoided in comfortable circumstances. I had learned to trust my instincts when something felt wrong, regardless of external validation. My understanding of healthy relationships had deepened beyond theoretical knowledge to lived wisdom. Financial recovery came through focused career development and simplified living. Emotional recovery developed through honest self-reflection and willingness to experience discomfort rather than avoid it. Social recovery, built through authentic connections based on mutual respect rather than convenience or history. Today, I view my called-off engagement not as failure, but necessary course correction. The relationship ending before marriage spared years of deeper entanglement with someone fundamentally incompatible with my values. The experience taught me that courage sometimes means walking away from the familiar toward uncertainty. I remain open to love, with clearer understanding of its authentic form. True connection builds gradually on consistent actions rather than dramatic declarations. It thrives on mutual growth rather than dependency or convenience. Most importantly, it never requires sacrificing self-respect or personal truth for temporary harmony. Have you ever had to make the difficult choice between comfortable illusion and painful truth? Would you have made the same decision in my situation or taken a different path? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more real-life experiences that remind us we are never alone in our struggles. Thank you for listening to my journey from betrayal to renewed strength. Remember, sometimes the most painful endings create space for the most authentic beginnings.